It had now been 3 months since Raymond arrived in London. And 2 months, 2 weeks since he told Janet and Stella that he might be away for a very long time. Work still demanded his attention. Operational challenges persisted, staffing gaps, system inefficiencies, coordination issues across departments. Each day required decisions. Each week brought adjustments. But even in the middle of strategy meetings and late-night reviews, his mind often wandered elsewhere. To relationships left behind. And to one observation he could no longer ignore. Since he broke the news of his long stay, Stella had changed. Her warmth had faded. She rarely answered his calls now. His messages often went unanswered. Sometimes, she replied, briefly. Other times, not at all. The silence was growing. Janet, on the other hand, remained present. Despite knowing he would be away for long, she still sent messages on WhatsApp. She still called. And when his phone rang and her name appeared, she was always eager to answer. One quiet evening, as Raymond sat alone in his London apartment, his thoughts drifted back to Uncle Tammy's words. Distance has a way of revealing truth. The sentence returned to him now with new meaning. He replayed the past weeks in his mind. Stella's fading responses. Her growing silence. Her absence where warmth once lived. And then, Janet's consistency. The messages. The calls. Her eagerness to stay connected even when he had made it clear that his return was uncertain. Raymond leaned back slowly. Is this what Uncle Tammy meant? He began to wonder. Are they both now revealing who they truly are? The thought settled heavily within him. Does Stella's distance mean her love was never real? And does Janet's persistence mean her love truly is? For the first time, the question felt less like confusion, and more like clarity beginning to emerge. Back in Nigeria, Stella was growing increasingly comfortable in Henry's world. What began as occasional visits had now become routine. She spent most weekends at Henry's apartment, relaxed, assured, and welcomed. The space was no longer unfamiliar. It felt like a place she could belong. Henry, in turn, was becoming more expressive about the future. One evening, as they sat together, he spoke with quiet confidence. My father is contesting for a second term in the Senate in 3 months, he said. Stella listened closely. When he wins, Henry continued, he will organize a society wedding for us. He smiled. A wedding that will move both heaven and earth. The words lingered. And Stella was thrilled. Then we began the marriage plans now, Stella said excitedly. Yes, we can, Henry replied. At the restaurant, Janet continued with her daily routine. Serving. Clearing. Preparing. Life moved forward, as it always did. But her thoughts often drifted to Raymond. Even in the middle of busy shifts, his presence lingered quietly in her mind. The distance had not weakened her resolve. Instead, she made sure they stayed connected. Every day, she sent messages. She called. And when he reached out, she responded without delay. For Janet, communication was no longer just conversation. It was reassurance. A way of holding on. Across miles. One Friday afternoon, as Janet moved between tables at the restaurant, she noticed a familiar couple seated quietly in a corner. They were based in London. She remembered them well. They visited the restaurant each time they came to Lagos on vacation. An idea formed in her mind. Simple, but meaningful. She could send something to Raymond. Something from home. That afternoon, gathering a little courage, she walked up to their table. With gentle politeness, she spoke. She explained that she had a friend in the UK and wondered if they would be willing to help carry some staple Nigerian food items for him, crayfish, palm oil, and a few other things. The couple listened kindly. Then agreed. They mentioned they would be returning to London in 2 weeks. So she should prepare everything before then. Janet smiled in gratitude. A small gesture, but one that carried her heart across the distance. From the little she had saved out of her restaurant stipend, Janet went to the market. Carefully, thoughtfully, she bought crayfish, palm oil, groundnuts, and a few other local food items she knew someone far from home would cherish. These were not expensive things, but they were meaningful. She took her time to neatly package them, ensuring everything was secure and presentable. A quiet labor of care. When the agreed day came, she handed the package to the London-based couple at the restaurant. With gratitude, she also shared Raymond's contact details with them, so they could reach him once they arrived in London. Janet smiled politely as she thanked them. A simple exchange. But for her, it was love sent across distance. True to their word, the couple reached out to Raymond shortly after arriving in London. They arranged to meet him and handed over the package Janet had sent. Raymond was surprised. As he opened it and saw the familiar items, crayfish, palm oil, groundnuts, something shifted within him. It wasn't just food. It was thoughtfulness. Care. Home. He paused. Since leaving Nigeria, he hadn't sent Janet money. He hadn't sent gifts. Yet she had chosen to give. Quietly. Without expectation. The gesture touched him deeply. And in that moment, he felt something growing stronger within his heart. An affection that was no longer uncertain. He found himself thinking about Janet more often. And slowly, loving her more. Sometimes, it's the quiet gestures that speak the loudest. Now that hearts are beginning to reveal themselves, will Raymond finally see the truth? Or will new choices bring new complications? Watch out for part 10. Because the next chapter may change everything.